Another situation is a reverse headlock. Now, instead of coming with the arm past the head, okay, his arm is past his head, at least in the direction I'm going to be throwing. The reverse headlock is the opposite. This arm is going to be in front. And if I'm in this position here, actually, a moment ago we did a throw from here, and I backstep. I can do the opposite way too. From here, I can backstep in the opposite direction here. I can come in this position here, and I can throw. Okay, and that's an option as well. And notice too, if I come here and Colby moves away, then I may want to switch here. I may want to switch the opposite way. So if your opponent tries to fight that by his position laterally, you have the opposite attack. So in this situation, I'm going to be pushing in here. I'm going to step and throw. When I'm throwing this attack, as best I can, I want to try to get his arm up to his head. Okay, as opposed to here. It's a little more difficult with me right now because Colby's taller. But all things being equal, if you can get his arm to his head as you throw, you'll have it more secured. The next type of headlock I want to go over is called a sagging headlock. And it's fundamentally different in its approach, the technique, and really what you're trying to accomplish relative to the more traditional backstepping kind of a motion. Okay? There's a couple of distinct differences. One is that this is a headlock that's going to occur when I cannot get my hips, or frequently cannot get my hips underneath Colby. If I can get my hips underneath Colby, I'm probably going to go for a more traditional backstepping type throw. But if his hips are lower, it's much harder for me to get in underneath, and so it becomes less advantageous for me to try risking that for fear of him being able to defend because his hips are too low. The more traditional backstepping type throws, you'll notice, whether it was a hip toss, a headlock, or when we do the arm throw, Colby is facing in this direction. I'm facing in the opposite direction. When I throw him, I want his feet ultimately to be in the direction he's facing. So I want him basically down the road. Okay? I'd rather his feet not land like this. If I'm doing the throw correctly, his feet are going to land over here. Okay? Now, it's a lot different when we do the sagging headlock or a sagging arm throw, which is basically the same thing, just a different upper body grip. My goal in this situation, which is going to be when Colby is a little lower, so it's very difficult for me to get underneath. What I'm going to try to do in this situation is be conscious of where his weight is relative to his feet. Now, stand up straight, Colby. If Colby is standing up straight, and we kind of discussed some of these principles on some earlier instructionals, but in terms of when we're attacking legs, for example, if Colby is standing perfectly balanced, half of his weight is on this leg, half of his weight is on this leg. And remember, for example, in the DVD instructionals where I was trying to attack a single, for example, I'd always, if I'm going to drive in this direction, I'd want to be able to keep the weight heavy here and do something to get his weight on the outside of that to be able to drive him down. Okay? Now, that's pretty much the same principle and goals that we're going to have with a sagging headlock. So, The situation here now is Colby is with pretty much weight on equally distributed between each foot. My goal here is not going to be to get underneath. My goal is going to be to jam him down and outside of his leg. My goal is going to be to jam him in this direction. What I want to do is I want to get his head, which is midline here, outside of his foot. I want to create as much weight as I can on that foot so that he can't adjust. Then what I want to do is I want to push hard with my legs to continue to drive his upper body past this post which is stuck, and naturally there's a point where he will lose his balance and topple or fall. Now, I've locked up with Colby. I might be bicep outside or inside control here. And what I'm going to do is we're moving around. He's going to be a little lower this time, so it's going to be very difficult for me to do a back step to get underneath him. I'm going to tug on this arm. I'm going to hit him with the upper part of my bicep and the anterior part of my deltoid here, front part of my deltoid, and I'm going to blast him, boom, like that. I'm not grabbing his head. I'm not grabbing his head. I'm going to come down, okay? At the same time, I'm tugging the arm. Tugging the arm, popping the head. Now, to make that successful, simultaneously, I've got to lower my hips. Because if I don't, there's a limit to how far we're going to go. If I just come here, boom, and I stay up, there's a limit to how far I can keep driving down. So I've got to sag, and that's why it's called a sagging headlock. I'm going to sag as I do that to keep my weight down. And as I sag, I'm going to be driving forward, again, to keep his weight past that supporting leg. And once I get it past a certain point, he's going to topple. You'll notice my hips are not under his hips. As a matter of fact, my hips kind of instead of coming in, just kind of go down. Okay? I'm pushing, I'm driving down, and I'm tugging. The pop should be a good one, should be ballistic, because I want to shift his weight so that instead of being in between his legs, it's outside, tugging down on the arm so that there's weight here. Notice I'm sagging, and if I'm sagging, he's having to support my weight as well as his weight, so that increases the weight. At the same time, as I'm tugging, popping, and kind of pushing with my own feet, he's going to have so much weight, he's going to topple. This is a very efficient move. Again, I'm not grabbing the head. If I grab the head, this is probably what's going to happen. If I just grab the head as I'm coming through here, he's going to grab me. Okay, he can roll me through with my arm. Now, in jiu-jitsu, where a lot of times people are on their knees as we approach each other, or in a scramble situation after perhaps one of us is attacked and we're broken away and are prepared perhaps to get up, or we're going to make new contact with each other again to try to initiate an attack. This is an excellent type of technique. Okay, from here, as we're kind of pushing and shoving, especially if I sense Colby's weight now moving towards this leg here, I'm just going to tug, pop, leg back. Tug, pop, and I want to pretty much do those at about the same time. Leg back, same time. Boom. Now, watch this. If Colby had this leg up as in a post, put this leg up. Not a chance. I wouldn't even be thinking about this type of technique in this situation. Why? Because he's got a post in that direction. On the other hand, if I'm jerking Colby around and I sense he wants to step up with this leg, opportune time. Why? Because if I step up with the leg, watch the direction of my weight. Right now my weight's pretty much in the center, but if I step up, what happens? All of a sudden my weight shifts here, and that's the opportune time to keep the motion going. So I can either try, for example, if I'm in here, we're pushing, we're shoving, popping the head. If I make it really difficult for Colby, especially if I keep a little bit more weight on this side, which side is he more likely to raise the leg? Well, if there's more weight on this side, this is the leg that's probably going to come up. And as it does, I'm going to take it. Okay? So the time not to do it is if the leg towards the side you're throwing is coming up. An excellent time to do it is when the opposite leg is coming up, because by very nature of that movement, his weight is going to be shifted in the direction you want it to go in.